$34,000. That's the number Josh had in his savings account the day his company announced layoffs. He wasn't particularly disciplined with money, not in any obvious way. He wasn't tracking every dollar or eating sad lunches at his desk. He just had this number sitting there, quiet and unremarkable, the result of years of making one specific decision over and over without ever calling it a strategy. When the HR email landed on a Tuesday morning in October, Josh felt something his colleagues didn't. Not relief exactly, steadiness. He had time, real time, not the panicked 2-week scramble to update a LinkedIn profile and email every contact he'd neglected for 4 years. He had 18 months of runway at his current spending rate. He could be selective. He could say no to the wrong jobs. He could sit with the question of whether he even wanted to do the same thing next. His colleague Dana made $22,000 more than him per year. She had $1,400 in savings, not because she was irresponsible, not because she had debt or a gambling problem or some hidden financial catastrophe. She had a lifestyle, a nice one actually, a bigger apartment, newer car, a wardrobe that reflected the income, vacations that matched what people in her bracket were supposed to take. She was spending like someone who believed that income and security were the same thing. They are not even close to the same thing. This is the confusion that keeps high earners perpetually broke, and it has a name. Call it the income illusion, the belief that what you earn determines how free you are. It's the reason a $95,000 salary can leave someone with less flexibility than a $52,000 salary. It's why people get raises and somehow feel just as financially trapped 2 years later. It's why most Americans, if their paycheck stopped tomorrow, would be in serious trouble within 90 days. Regardless of what that paycheck says, your income is not your security. Your burn rate is. Burn rate is the term startups use to measure how fast they're spending through their cash reserves. Every month the company exists, costs money, salaries, rent, infrastructure, and the burn rate determines exactly how much runway they have before they run out of options. A startup with $500,000 in the bank and a $50,000 monthly burn rate has 10 months of runway. One with the same cash and a $25,000 burn rate has 20 months. The difference has nothing to do with how much money is coming in. Your personal finances work exactly the same way, and almost nobody thinks about it this way. Most financial advice focuses obsessively on the income side. Earn more, get promoted, side hustle, invest wisely. All of that matters, eventually, but none of it creates the kind of immediate, tangible freedom that comes from simply needing less every month. Because when you need less, a smaller pile of savings buys you more time. More time means more options. More options is the actual definition of financial freedom, not a number in a brokerage account, not a title, not a house that photographs well. Josh didn't have $34,000 because he was a particularly aggressive saver. He had 18 months of runway because his monthly expenses were low enough that $34,000 stretched that far. His number wasn't special. His denominator was. This distinction will rearrange how you think about every spending decision you make. The minimalist rule, the single mechanism that separates people who always have options from people who never do, is this. Freedom is not built by earning more. It's built by making each dollar of savings buy more time. And the only way to make each dollar buy more time is to shrink what each month costs you to exist. That's it. That's the whole thing. 18 months of freedom doesn't require 18 months of income saved. It requires 18 months of expenses saved. And those are wildly different numbers, depending on the choices you make about how you live. Most people have been chasing the wrong variable their entire adult lives. Rule 1, the denominator fix. Here's the math most people skip. 2 people each save $2,000 per month. Person A spends $4,000 per month. Person B spends $7,000 per month. After 1 year, Both have $24,000 saved. Same savings rate, same number, right? Except person A now has 6 months of runway, person B has 3.4 months. Now extend that out. After 5 years, person A has $120,000 saved and 30 months of runway, 2.5 years of complete financial independence from any income source. Person B has the same $120,000 and 17 months of runway. Same income, same savings amount, completely different levels of freedom. The fix isn't earning more or saving more, it's attacking the denominator, your monthly expenses, because every dollar you permanently remove from your monthly cost of living compounds into freedom over time. Cut $500 per month in recurring expenses, and you haven't just saved $500. You've added a month of runway for every $500 you've accumulated. That $500 recurring cut in expenses is worth roughly $6,000 in runway per year of savings, forever. Think about that for a second. A single canceled subscription, a refinanced car, a cheaper apartment, these aren't just savings, they're permanent multipliers on every dollar you already have. Rule 2, the recurring cost audit. There are two kinds of expenses: one-time purchases and recurring ones. Most people obsess over one-time purchases because they're visible. You feel the $300 leaving your account. Recurring expenses are the quiet killers. You stop seeing them. They run in the background, pulling money out every single month, often for things you barely use anymore. Do this. Pull up your last 3 months of bank and credit card statements and highlight every charge that appears more than once. Every subscription, membership, monthly fee, and automated payment. Add them up. The average American now carries over $200 per month in subscription services alone: streaming platforms, fitness apps, software tools, cloud storage, premium tiers of free things, boxes that show up at the door. Many of them are services the person barely uses but hasn't bothered to cancel because the friction of canceling feels greater than the friction of paying. That is the most expensive feeling in personal finance. $200 per month is $2,400 per year. At a monthly burn rate of $4,000, that $2,400 in wasted subscriptions costs you more than half a month of runway annually. Over 5 years, it's 2.5 months of freedom you paid for and received nothing in return. Go through each recurring charge and apply one question. Would you manually re-enter your credit card information today to keep this service? Not whether you want to cancel, whether you would actively sign up right now if you hadn't already. If the answer is no, it goes. Rule 3, the true monthly cost calculation. Every significant possession you own has what you paid for it, the purchase price, and what it actually costs you every month to keep it. Most people only calculate the first number. Minimalists obsess over the second. Your car is the clearest example. Take whatever you paid or whatever your monthly payment is. Then add insurance, average monthly fuel, maintenance amortized over the year, registration fees, and parking costs, if they apply. For most Americans with a financed vehicle, this total lands somewhere between $800 and $1,400 per month. That's not a car payment, that's a car ecosystem payment. Now ask whether a car is the right car for your actual life. Not whether a car is necessary. That depends on where you live. Whether this specific car at this specific cost is what your life actually requires. A $12,000 reliable used vehicle with no monthly payment, $90 insurance, and modest fuel costs might run you $300 per month, all in. The difference between $300 and $1,100 is $800 per month in runway. That's nearly an extra month of freedom every year, just from one decision. Apply this calculation to your housing too, not just rent or mortgage, but utilities, renter's insurance, storage fees, the true cost of maintaining the space. Many people would discover they're spending 40 to 50% of their take-home income on housing ecosystem costs often for more space than they genuinely use, in buildings with amenities they barely access. Rule 4, the lifestyle clock. Every upgrade in lifestyle starts a clock, not a visible clock, an invisible one. The clock measures how long until that lifestyle becomes your floor, the new minimum acceptable standard, rather than a ceiling. It takes roughly 6 months for a lifestyle upgrade to normalize. 6 months after getting the nicer apartment is just where you live. It no longer generates the satisfaction it did on move-in day, but it still generates the full cost. So you've traded a burst of temporary pleasure for a permanent increase in your burn rate, plus the hedonic adaptation that makes the upgrade feel ordinary almost immediately. This clock is why raises don't build wealth. The average person gets a raise, and their lifestyle adjusts upward within a year, absorbing the entire increase. The raise bought a higher burn rate, not freedom. The technical term is lifestyle inflation. The practical effect is running faster just to stay in place. Minimalists interrupt this clock by implementing a specific delay. When income increases, they hold the lifestyle constant for a minimum of 12 months before evaluating any upgrades. The full income increase goes into savings and investments. After 12 months, they assess whether the upgrade still feels necessary or whether the desire faded once it was no longer a fresh possibility. Most of the time, it fades. Rule 5, the optionality ledger. This one reframes spending entirely. Every purchase isn't just an exchange of money for a thing. It's a trade of financial optionality for physical possession. Optionality is your ability to make free choices, to leave a bad job, take unpaid time off, move cities, start something new, absorb an unexpected expense without crisis. These options require liquid resources. They disappear when every dollar is committed to maintaining a lifestyle. Before any significant purchase, run the optionality ledger. On one side, the value of the thing you're buying. What genuine utility or satisfaction does it provide? On the other, the optionality you're trading. How many days of financial freedom does this purchase remove from your runway? A $6,000 vacation at a $4,000 monthly burn rate costs you 1.5 months of freedom. Is the trip worth 45 days of options? Sometimes yes. Genuinely, there are experiences worth trading time for, and the ledger isn't meant to eliminate enjoyment. It's meant to make the trade visible. Most impulse purchases don't survive the question. Spending $400 on stuff you barely considered becomes harder when you recognize you're trading 3 days of your life's freedom for objects that will be forgotten by next month. The people who consistently build Runway aren't joyless. They're just selective in a way that most people aren't, because they can see the other side of every transaction. Rule 6, the minimum viable lifestyle experiment. Here's the most underused tool in personal finance. Live significantly below your current means for 90 days and measure the actual impact on your daily experience. Not forever, just 90 days. Set your monthly spending target at 30% below your current average. Track it. See what you actually feel compelled to restore and what unexpectedly you don't miss at all. Most people who do this are surprised by the ratio. They expect to miss everything. They end up missing about a third of what they cut and not caring about the other 2/3. The things they miss most are usually experiences, specific restaurants, travel, activities with people they care about. The things they don't miss are almost entirely objects and passive entertainment upgrades. That 90-day experiment gives you a data-driven picture of your personal value hierarchy. What actually makes your life better versus what just costs money? Armed with that picture, you can rebuild intentionally, spending on the experiences that genuinely matter, cutting the rest permanently. Your burn rate drops, your runway grows, and your actual daily life quality often stays the same or improves because you've cleared out the noise. 5 years from now, you'll either be Josh or you'll be Dana. Not literally, the point isn't the names or the exact salaries. The point is the options. Because the divergence between those two outcomes doesn't happen in a single dramatic decision. It happens in 1,000 forgettable ones. The subscription you didn't cancel in November. The car you upgraded 2 years before the old one actually died. The apartment you chose at the ceiling of your budget instead of somewhere in the middle. The raise that quietly became a new floor. Each of those decisions seems inconsequential in the moment. Together, over 5 years, they are the difference between someone who got laid off and felt steady and someone who got laid off and felt the floor disappear. Here's what that divergence actually looks like by the numbers. Two people, both earning $75,000 per year. Person A gradually raises their burn rate to $5,200 per month as their income grows. Person B holds theirs at $3,500 through deliberate choices. Same income. After 5 years, Person A has managed to accumulate $28,000 in savings. Person B is $105,000. Person A has 5 months of runway. Person B has 30. Person B can negotiate differently at work because they don't desperately need the job. They can walk away from an opportunity that pays well but feels wrong. They can take 6 weeks off between jobs without a financial crisis. They can invest more aggressively because they have a cushion large enough to absorb market volatility without panic. Person A cannot do any of these things. Not because they earn less, they don't, but because they made their life expensive enough to consume everything they earn. The lifestyle that felt like success is actually the cage. 20 years out, the gap is incomprehensible. The same earnings, the same careers, and Person B is looking at genuine early retirement or financial independence. Not because they were lucky or brilliant or unusually disciplined in some heroic way, because they understood one thing clearly. Every dollar of monthly expenses they avoided accumulating is a dollar that stopped costing them every single month for the rest of their life. Here's what you do with this starting this week. This week, pull every recurring charge from the past 90 days, build a list, every single one, then go through each one and ask whether you'd re-enter your card today. Cut everything that doesn't pass. Don't plan to cancel it. Cancel it today before you close the browser. This month, calculate your true monthly burn rate with all costs included. Not just obvious expenses, but the actual total of housing, transportation, food, subscriptions, insurance, debt payments, everything. Then calculate how many months of runway your current savings buys you at that burn rate. Write the number down. That number is your current level of freedom. Know it. Over the next 90 days, run the minimum viable lifestyle experiment. Pick a monthly spending target that's meaningfully lower than your current burn. Not punishing, but genuinely lower, and actually hit it. Track what you miss and what you don't. At the end, rebuild intentionally from the data you collected rather than from habit and inertia. This year, set a runway goal. Not a savings goal, a runway goal. Decide how many months of freedom you want by December. Then work backward. What does your monthly burn rate need to be at your current savings rate to hit that number in 12 months? That is your number to attack. The transformation this creates isn't just financial. That's the part nobody talks about. When you have real runway, not emergency fund money, not the technically recommended 3 months, but actual runway, your entire relationship with work and risk and time changes. You stop making decisions from desperation. You stop accepting situations that don't fit because you can't afford to say no. You negotiate differently. You work differently. You think about your career differently. The financial margin translates directly into psychological margin, and that margin changes what's possible in ways that compound long after the initial savings are made. Josh didn't spend years suffering toward financial freedom. He just made his life cheaper than his income, steadily, without treating it as sacrifice. The gap between what he earned and what he needed became the gap between Tuesday morning layoff and quiet, unshakable steadiness. That gap has a dollar amount. What's yours? I'm Amelia, and I'll see you in the next one.